This is a call to return back to the secret place. So many people have been discouraged or distracted, or so many things come in your way that for many people, they don't even know which way to go, finding themselves going around the same mountain over and over and over again. This is a call to return back to the secret place, because motivation is actually not enough. Motivation by itself is only going to get you so far. We have to begin to walk in purpose. We have to be intentional about working and walking in partnership with God and showing up in the way that He tells us to show up and in His timing. And I understand firsthand, sometimes so many things are thrown at us in life, it is just ridiculous at times. But I have to remember to tell myself, and this may be a little weird for you all to hear me say this, but I always quote this passage: in faithfulness you have allowed me to be afflicted. And what I mean by that, when I quote that passage from the Bible, I think through in faithfulness, anything that God has allowed me to go through, I know that He loves me and His plan is going to prevail in my life. And because I show up and I work and I walk in partnership with Him, He already has it worked out. My dear brothers and sisters, you are already seated in heavenly places, and you may not even be aware of that. You're already seated in heavenly places. The very things that you may be worried about or thinking about right now, have you considered the battle has already been won? Your body is just trying to catch up with what's already happened in the spirit. Let me say that again. Your body is just catching up and going through motions of what has already happened in the spirit. This is why I stress to you all and to myself as a reminder, we must spend time in the secret place with God. We must go ahead in the spirit first. Go ahead in the spirit. Command your day. Proclaim what your day is to look like in the name of Jesus. Don't wait for it to happen. By the time it shows up and happen, it's too late. Go ahead in the spirit first. And how do we do this? We partner with God. We work in partnership with Him. In a few minutes, you all are about to hear a live podcast episode I did just yesterday. It wasn't planned. Totally was in the spirit. God just let it in my heart to go live. And I know that I have not produced a podcast or been live in at least 4 or so weeks. That's not my norm. But what you all have to realize, there are some times where you have to get away, spend time with just you and God in the secret place. Get your fire back, my dear brothers and sisters. Sit in the presence of God and let Him remind you of who you are in His presence. Let Him remind you that you are greater than your circumstances. Let Him remind you that you are an heir of God. Let Him remind you that all things are going to work out for your benefit. Let Him remind you that you walk in dominion and you walk in power and you walk in authority. Let Him remind you, Ephesians 1:5 and Jeremiah 1:5, that you have been predestined. He is not making up your life as you go along. God is not caught by surprise by anything that is going on in your life and sitting there rocking back and forth thinking how He can help work it out for you. You're predestined, my dear brothers and sisters. You're put here with purpose. The battle has already been won. The question is, do we know it? Do we believe it? Do we even understand what that means? Do we know that we are already seated in heavenly places? That's why I've been away for a few weeks. Sometimes I have to just sit in the presence of my Father and be reminded, who am I? Remind me again of who I am in the Spirit. And then when you begin to show up and your light begins to shine brightly before the world, the fears are no longer attached to you. The opinions of others don't even matter. And your circumstances must bow down to the authority that God has over your life. You begin to show up differently because you now know who you are. And I don't mean just the words. I'm not referring to just the words, because just everybody says, I'm a child of God, I'm this and I'm that. I'm talking about what you really believe about yourself. Knowing who you are in the Spirit. Valuing your time. Protecting your thoughts. What you listen to. Even the company you keep. Understanding John 10:10, how the enemy works. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Understanding John, I think it's chapter 8, verse 44 or so, when the enemy lies, he speaks his native language. Commanding a change in the atmosphere wherever you go, because the Spirit of God is all over you. My dear brothers and sisters, you are stronger than you think. But the enemy does an amazing job trying to distract us, throwing life's circumstances our way left and right, because we don't know we have the authority to command it, and trying to keep us down, discouraged, or distracted in any way as though we have no power. And I am here to tell you, my brothers and sisters, you are far more powerful than you may ever realize. Remember in my book, Necessary, that very first chapter is titled A Letter to the Enemy, Chapter 1. It's called A Letter to the Enemy, Part 1. If you haven't read that, I strongly encourage you to go back and read it again. And that's the chapter where I realized for the first time the enemy tried to destroy me because he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And I almost believed him. In fact, for a while, I did believe him. I was afraid to walk in purpose. I was afraid to fully show up. And on the outside, it may have looked like that's what I was doing, but there was still fear. I was still trembling. I was still afraid because I didn't quite understand who I really was in the sight of God. And when you don't know who you are and you don't walk in that authority, the enemy does an amazing job telling you who you are not. If you're not too careful, my brothers and sisters, you'll find yourself believing them. And you may be saying to yourself, well, I don't believe anything the enemy says to me. And I know who I am. Well, that's great if that's how you feel, and that's what you really believe in your heart. But I know many of you, and I've been there many times myself, we say the words, but we don't truly believe it. And all you have to do is look at your results, because your results speak for you. When I think about Matthew, I believe it's chapter 7, verse 7. Asking, it shall be given to you. Seeking, you'll find. Knocking, the door shall be open. I have read that passage I don't know how many times. I don't know how many times I've read that passage. What does Jesus mean, asking, it shall be given to you? I've asked for many things and I didn't get it. But I didn't know. He wasn't referring to just the words that come out of my mouth. He was referring to how I saw myself, what I really believe about myself. He was referring to standing in the dominion, the power, and the authority he gave me. Genesis 1:26, when God made me in his image. He made me in his image. So therefore, the asking is not so much with words. It's standing in that authority and knowing that what you have requested has already been done. Now I understand why he says if you tell this mountain to go throw itself into the sea, it'll be done. I used to think that was a ridiculous statement, but now I realize it is pure truth. My brothers and sisters, I say this with love. There's so much going on in this world right now, and in our families and in our lives. This is a call to return to the secret place, in the presence of God, and begin to walk in the power and in the authority that God has already given you. You are put here for a reason. You have purpose, and the world is waiting on you to recognize the lion in the mirror. When you look in that mirror, you see a lion. You represent Christ. I pray to God that you are encouraged by this live workshop you're about to listen to. I shouldn't call it a workshop. It was just a live. I literally just went live and I recorded it. And so you're about to listen to that. I pray to God you are greatly encouraged. For those of you who have my book Necessary, make sure you listen to the chapter titled The Secret Place and listen to the chapter, or I should say read the chapter titled The Secret Place and read the chapter that's titled A Letter to the Enemy Part 1. I love you all. Listen to this live workshop. I pray you are encouraged. I started to title this Motivation is Not Enough because I feel from what I've seen many times on social media channels that we watch motivational videos and for a while it helps us for a little bit. But then, as many of you are aware, after a couple of days have gone by from watching, some sort of a motivational video, after a couple of days, motivation just no longer works, and you all know that. And so I started to title this Motivation is Not Enough. But I decided to title this Walk in Purpose. And the reason I want to title it Walk in Purpose is because as we begin to show up and walk in purpose, we then realize what we're really here, what we're really set to do. And it takes the pressure off of us to have to perform. And it causes us just to show up truly authentic in the way that we've been built to show up. Sometimes it's important that you get away and you spend time in the secret place and you just work on you. I cannot stress enough. Please listen carefully to this. I cannot stress enough, especially with all of the things going on in this world right now, you guys. This is not a time to play around with not walking in purpose. You have to take some time for you and begin to go into that secret place. And I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. I'm going to read a little bit from my book, Necessary. And you have to, you guys, please listen to me. Please listen. You have to get very intentional and serious about walking in purpose, about doing what God has placed you here to do. This is not a motivational talk. Let me be very clear on that. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to help you to understand the importance and the severity of not walking in purpose. We all have a purpose and a dream. There's a reason that God put each and every last one of you here. And you know what? When you're not, let me speak for myself. When I'm not walking in that alignment, let me tell you what that feels like. Let me tell you, and I can tell you firsthand because I've had my ups and downs. You feel tired. You feel unmotivated. You begin to compare yourself to others, especially for those of you who are business owners or what have you. You begin to compare your products or services to others. You are easily swayed. Your opinions are easily turned into something else. You start off one day saying you're going to do this, and then 2 days later, you're doing something different. Your prayer life begins to shrink. Your confidence begins to go down. You begin to get afraid instead of standing out there and doing what you need to do. Those are all symptoms. Are you all listening? Those are all symptoms of not walking in alignment when we're not walking in purpose. And let me be transparent. Even when you are walking in purpose, your butt still may be nervous. You still may be unsure about some things. But the difference is when you walk in alignment, what's so beautiful about walking in alignment, not only do the provisions meet you along the way, but there's this flow. You all ever see someone on a live? I'm sure if you're watching this live, you've watched many lives before, right? You can almost tell when, and I don't mean this as a negative comment to anyone, so let me make that clear. But you can almost tell when someone is truly in alignment in the spirit and doing what they're called to do, or when someone is doing something and they're simply there to like sell you something, or they're simply there to put on this front of this pretense. You can't fake energy. I guess that's probably the better way of putting it. You actually can't fake energy. It actually comes in the spirit when you're in alignment. So what I want to call you all, I just want to ask you all a few questions real quick. And I asked this before on one of my lives a while ago. What happens in your life when you do get it right? Or let me say if. What happens in your life? I want you all to take a moment to think about the dream. I don't know why I'm crying already. I'm getting emotional. But I want you all to think about the dream or the goal that God has placed in you. I want everybody to take some time to just think about that for a moment. Just take some time, real quick. Whatever that goal or that dream is in life that you know that you're born to do. And some of you all, it may be so long since you've even done it, you may not even remember what it is. So give yourself permission for just a minute to just think through, what do you know that you know that you know that you're put here to do? Think about that for just a moment. Like, I know that I'm put here to draw people closer to God. I know that I'm put here to help people discover their purpose and to walk in it. I know that I'm put here to help people pursue that goal and that dream and to walk in it and that dominion and in that power and in that authority. It comes so natural to me. It flows through me. It bothers me when I see people not walking in purpose. It bothers me when I see results that are not produced in the lives of others. It bothers me when I see people that are down or going through a hard time and not seeing or finding God in a situation. It naturally bothers me because I'm predestined just like you are. Ephesians 1:5, Jeremiah 1:5, go look those up. I am predestined to do what you see me doing right now. So this comes so natural to me. So my question to you is, what is it that comes so natural to you? It flows. I want you to think about that. And I want you to ask yourself, can you imagine? Not a can you, I want you to imagine. What happens if you get it right? What I mean by that, what happens if your butt gets so bold and you get so committed, regardless of what your circumstances look like, regardless of what people may say, regardless of what field or industry you may be in right now? Just imagine for one moment. You guys just spend 5 minutes with me. My God. Oh my God, speak through me. Please help your people. Please. Please, God, let them know that you have not left. Let them know the dream is still there. Let them know that you've not made any mistakes. Let them know your greatness is still inside of them. Let them know that they've been called. I want you all to think for just one moment. What happens if you get it right? What happens if you take the necessary steps, show your butt up, and do what you're called to do? What happens if you get it right? How does that change your life? How does that change the lives of your family members? And I pray to God for generations to come. What happens if you are humble enough, bold enough, courageous enough to actually show up, do what you've been called to do, and you get it right? What happens if it works? So let me ask you all this. What happens if nothing changes? If you continue day in and day out with the same routines, nothing really changes. You're motivated by a couple messages, and maybe by this time next week, you're kind of back into the same old, same old. What difference does that make in your life if it doesn't happen? Those goals and dreams, if you don't show up, how will that impact other people? How will that impact people if you don't? And the reason it's important to think about that, I want you all to walk away with one thing from this message. You have a responsibility to grow. You have a responsibility to walk in purpose. You have a responsibility to do what God has placed you here to do. And I know we all go through our ups and downs, right? I know we do. I had a tough day even yesterday. I was up at the gravesite, at my son's gravesite, walking around. I know that there's times in lives where we question and we wonder, God, why this and why that? But we have a responsibility to grow, and we have a responsibility to walk in purpose, because it's beyond us, you guys. It's beyond just you. This impacts your family. This impacts generations to come. You may not believe this, but people are dependent on the decisions that you're making right now. And if you don't show up and you don't use those gifts and talents that God has given for you to use, God can easily turn around and allow someone else to use them. allow someone else. You guys can read through. I don't have time to go through the parable of the talents. If I had time, I would read through the parable of the talents. You guys should read that in the Gospels. You can read the one in the version in the book of Matthew. In the parable of the talents, does anyone remember what happened with the person that was afraid to go out there and use their talents and gifts? What happened? In the parable of the talents, the person that was afraid and did not step out there and use the talents, use the gifts that God gave him. What he had was actually, and this is kind of not good, it was taken away from him and it was given to the one who actually did go out there and do something. But let me give you guys some encouragement. I want you all very, very quickly to turn to Matthew 13. I'm not going to read it through because I want to read a little bit to you from the secret place from my book, Necessary, because I want to challenge you all to start spending time in the secret place. But go over to Matthew chapter 13. I want you all to really concentrate on Matthew 13. And specifically, you can start in verse 4. This is a beautiful parable that Jesus told about a farmer that went out to sow some seed. And we've talked about this before, but let me just give you, what do you call it? Sort of the Cliff Note version of this. The Cliff Note version of this is that a farmer went out to sow seed. As he was scattering the seed, some of the seed, you guys go grab your Bibles real quick. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly, and when I think about when it springs up quickly, I think about, those moments in life when you're like, I'm about to do this. I just heard a motivational message. I'm going to do what I need to do. I just heard a good sermon. And you set out there with all the best intentions, but because the roots don't run deep, it doesn't last long. So listen to this. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But listen to verse 6. But when the sun came up, and God knows that happens in all of our lives, am I right? But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Think about that for a moment. It had no root. So, in other words, it didn't go down deep enough. Now I'm in verse 7. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still, other seed fell among good soil where it produced a crop 160, 30 times what was sown. Now, for some of you that may not know much about, this passage, look across the page in verse 19 when Jesus explains what all of this meant. And I'm going to read this. I know some of you may know the answer to this, but I always know that there are a few people that may not know this. So let me read it. Verse 19, this is him explaining it. Let's start in verse 18. Listen to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The one who received the seed that fell on rocky places is the man who hears the word. Okay, so they heard it, kind of like how you're listening now, and at once receives it with joy. So that's wonderful. So your intentions are great. But listen to verse 21. But since he has no root, he lasts only a short time. You all, this is what's happening all around right now, all around in the family of believers. We have good intentions. We hear something motivational. Right now, with so much information being out there, I mean, you can get information on just about anything. We walk away feeling like I'm about to do this. I'm going to walk in purpose. I'm going to do what I'm here to do. And sure enough, life comes around, things begin to happen, and it lasts only a short time. Now I'm in verse 21. But since he has no root, he lasts only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, he quickly falls away. Now, I've been guilty of that myself. So I'm not sitting in judgment on anybody. I've been guilty of that. Whenever my prayer life suffers and goes down, or my time in the word suffers and goes down, or I don't spend time in the secret place, which I pray I have a few minutes to read about that in a minute from my book, everything begins to impact every area of my life, from my walk with God, my business, you name it, all of it. The one who received the seed that fell among the thorns is the man who hears the word. Now listen to this. But the worries of this life, and that's what's happening right now, you guys. So many people are worried. There's so much going on right now in this world, you all. My heart's been so heavy when I look at everything that's happening in this world. The worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke it, making it unfruitful. Do you all know what it means to be unfruitful? Does anyone know? Making it unfruitful. don't mean you're a bad person, right? Unfruitful. But we're not producing any fruit. Because the word is not deep and the worries of life begin to choke us out. So it says making us unfruitful. But the one who received the seed that fell on good soil is the man who hears the word, understands it, produces a crop, yielding 160 and 30 times what was sown. And that's my prayer for you all. I want to read just a little bit from my book, Necessary. Chapter 11, let me read the affirmation called The Secret Place. This is where I want you guys to be focusing on. I have found the secret place where my circumstances do not determine my destiny, and my fears and past failures cannot enter. A place where I am no longer chained by my past, a place where my naysayers cannot enter. In this secret place, I am reminded that I can achieve all things. I am reminded that I am greater than who I see in the mirror. In this secret place, I am filled with love, wisdom, and great power. This is my secret place in the presence of God. Listen carefully. I am begging you, please spend time in the secret place with God. Please ask Him to show you and give you wisdom that you start walking in purpose. With everything going on in this world, you all, and forget about, even if you put that aside with what's going on in this world, you have been put here with a divine purpose, no matter what your circumstances look like. That dream, that goal, that vision that God has given you, it has not gone away. What you have to do, and what I have to do as well, all of us, we have to get in alignment and work in partnership with God and step out there and do things the way He told us to do. Get this, and in the timing that He's told us to do it. I was not planning on going live this morning. Wasn't even in my agenda. But when I get up in the morning and I spend time in prayer, and before I walk my butt into the office, guess what? Somehow between leaving my house and walking in the office, God began to build up in my spirit, my people need hope. You're going to be going live. And you're going to go live twice today. And I'm like, there's so much going on I got to do. You're going to get out there and you're going to speak the words I give you to say. So because I work in partnership with Him, I have to put off some of the other things I have planned and get my butt out here and say, okay, God, I don't know how this is going to go. I have meetings and things going on, but I'm going to show up and do what you've told me to do. Maybe there's one person on this live that just needed to hear that. You have a dream and a goal that's been given to you. And many people may not understand why you're doing things the way you're doing it. They may not even agree or think that you're qualified to do what God told you to do. This is why you have to spend time in the secret place. Listen carefully. You have to spend time in the secret place because it's only in the presence of my Father that I am reminded of who I am. Let me say that one more time. It's only when I'm in the presence of my Father that He reminds me I am seated in heavenly places. Go read Ephesians 5 or Jeremiah 1:5. I have been predestined. God is not making up my life nor your life as the days go along. I have been predestined. Just like He woke me up in the middle of the night years ago and told me to write Necessary. He literally showed me the cover of this book. I kid you not. He showed it to me. And He said, I'm going to have you write this book and it's going to be called Necessary. Woke me up at 3 a.m. Showed me the cover of the book. That's why my name's not on it. Because in the vision He showed me, my name wasn't on it. And then God began to write this book through me. There's over 300 and some scriptures in here. Every scripture came in the Spirit. I didn't sit down and have Bible studies on what I should write about. It actually just came in the Spirit. Every scripture, every chapter in here. And then God made me live through the book all the way up, unfortunately, to the end when my son passed away unexpectedly. That's where that chapter came from. When God says no, can He still be your God? Can He still be your God even when the answer is no? I say all this to say, that's what it looks like to work in partnership with God. Because sometimes it may not make sense. Sometimes it may not even make sense. God, if you love me, then why am I going through this? Right? God, if you love me, why didn't you answer my prayer with a yes? Sometimes He calls you to do things, many times, that you don't even feel you're qualified to do. For those who've been following my podcast for a while, do you have any idea how many people were coming at me like saying, you're not a minister, you're not a prophetess. You don't have a church. You're not a, which I'm not, I don't have any of those titles. I don't have any of those titles. But you know how many people were coming at me when I very first started doing that? Just trying to show up from my own dark corner, right? And just trying to motivate and inspire people to not give up on God. Do you know how many people came at me, right? But because I decided I'm going to work in partnership with God and I'm going to do what God has called me to do, God began to just blow on it. It's almost as if he's saying to you, for those who are still listening right now, all I want you to do is walk in obedience and do what I've called you to do. And don't worry about how it's all going to work out. I got you. Some of you may never hear a lie from me again and may never speak to me or what have you. And this may be the only time we meet each other. If you can just walk away with the message that God did not make a mistake with the vision and the dream that he gave you, baby. And I know life's been tough for a lot of people, but I'm telling you, he has not lied and he ain't going to start lying now. Show up. Show up. Allow him to be present in your life. I'm talking personal development as well as entrepreneurship in your business. I'm talking both. When people come into the Unlocking Greatness community, you want to know why I have everyone walk through the retreat. Many of you already are members and you know that I have a whole retreat called the Necessary Retreat. I have everybody start with foundation. Everybody. And you want to know why? Because I'm not interested when you come in there thinking, let me follow this platform and do what this person is doing. And that's another thing. Let me speak on that quickly. You all have got to stop joining every type of program, every type of make money thing that's out there online. I see so many people jumping around from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And I call that chasing seeds that don't belong to you. I see so many people, a lot of people that come into the Unlocking Greatness community. One of the first things they tell me, especially the business members, a lot of them say, Z, you don't even understand how many programs and mentorships and things that I've been in, and none of it worked. And I always go back to that's because you're chasing seeds that don't belong to you. The basis has to be the foundation. That's why I just read that passage in Matthew 13, you guys. The basis has to be getting those roots to go deep. Finding out, are you walking in purpose? What is your purpose? Are you walking in alignment? It starts with the foundation. And when the foundation is solid and you know what you're put here to do, you show up with this fire that can't be manufactured. You show up with this conviction that people can see it. They can feel the authenticity. They can tell that, wow, this person is born to do this. When you show up like that, the world cannot deny you. I didn't have a plan to grow out the Unlocking Greatness podcast. I didn't have a plan to do that. And I looked up and see how you got to be kidding. Hundreds of thousands of people all over the world are listening to this. I didn't have a plan for that. I didn't even want to do it. Let's start there. I'm a private person. I don't do social media. I really don't. But because I work in partnership with God and he puts a message in my heart and I'm saying, God, I'm not a minister. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a prophetess. I'm not a this. And he puts this message. You show up and you do what I have told you to do in the way I tell you to do it. Stop overthinking it. Stop trying to jump ahead of me and plan your every move and take the first step. And I'm speaking to you all with love. I'm not angry. I'm convicted. I'm speaking with love. You all think that you have forever and we don't. Tomorrow is guaranteed to no one. Every time I go to my son's gravesite, I'm reminded of that. Because you could not have told me that that would have been the last day that I would be speaking to him when I saw him and he died unexpectedly. I'm speaking out of love, you all. God knows I'm not mad at anyone. I'm not condemning anyone. What bothers me, and this is why I know I'm walking in alignment and purpose, what bothers me is when I see such amazing, talented people out there like yourselves living below where you should be living, thinking below how you should be thinking, and not even aware of the dominion and the power and the authority that you have in Christ. Not even aware. I know we say the words because everybody says the words. I'm a child of God. I'm this, I'm that.
But the way that you can look is you can just look and just simply look at your results. Are your results reflecting what you're saying and believing? And if it is not, you get your butt back to that secret place. Someone said on this live, Z, I haven't seen you live in a while. That's right, you haven't. You want to know why? Because I have to dwell in that secret place. It's been almost 4 weeks since I've even put up a podcast or done much on social media at all, except for like one post I put up yesterday. You know what that does to algorithm? And people say, don't ever do that. When you've got the amount of followers you got, you can't do that because your algorithm had to start back over. I don't care about algorithm. What I care about is when I show up and when I speak, you see and you feel the presence of God and you are moved to walk your butt in purpose. That's what I care about. Algorithm, whatever. It's not about getting even memberships and things. And yes, I would love for you to get in the Unlocking Greatness community, but it's not even about that. If it was about that, I would be doing it every single day, morning to night, begging people to join something. No, I walk in purpose and I show up when the fire is inside of me and when the fire is lit and when God has given me a message to say to his people. And I'm talking to those who are pursuing personal development and entrepreneurship. And I really have an issue with entrepreneurs right now. And I mean that with love. I sincerely mean it with love. The biggest issue I have with entrepreneurs, you guys have got to stop being all over the freaking place. Some of you are in positions and doing things that you have no business doing. Not that it's wrong, but it is not in alignment. And not that you just walk away from it, because you got to be wise and make sure you're paying your bills and taking care of things. But some of you have been delaying things for way too long, way too long. And then you wonder why you're down and why you're sad about things. And I mean that with love. I don't mean that as judgment. You're meant to walk in alignment. And yes, it's a difficult transition when you walk in alignment. For those who know me, especially those who are members of the Unlocking Greatness community, because you guys know all of it when we have our live Zoom calls, right? You guys know I made some major, major changes in my life. Your call is to simply dwell in the secret place. Remember Hebrews 10:25, I believe it is. Hebrews 10:25 teaches us. Let me turn there very, very quickly. Hebrews 10:25 teaches us, let us not give up as many are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another all the more as we see the day approaching. I'm looking for the scripture so I can read it. It says, let us not give up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another and all the more as you see the day approaching. Okay, I guess I quoted that right. That's good. The reason I want to quote Hebrews 10:25 is we all need each other. We were not actually meant to do things alone or to be alone. We need each other. Even in this, I don't know everything. When I have in the Unlocking Greatness community, when we have our live workshops, and we have workshops for personal development, entrepreneurship, I think what I love more than anything, not only have they become family, every member in there, I absolutely love them to pieces. But what I love is I have tough days as well. And I love sometimes in those meetings, I think I'm about to lead the meeting or we have a guest speaker come in. And guess what? They're coming at me with scriptures. They're coming at me with a word of encouragement. They're sending me a private email. We need each other. The Bible even teaches us, let us not give up meeting together as many are in the habit of doing. You want to know why? Because the enemy is very crafty, very, very crafty. And if he can just get your butt alone and get you, just if he can just keep you running in circles, you ain't even got to do much. As long as you don't take your butt up higher and begin to recognize who you are in the sight of God, and you don't begin to walk in that dominion and in that power and that authority, the enemy don't care what you do. Because you think it's just about you. And you think, well, you got another day or I'll work on this next month. And you don't even understand. You may have millions of people that are dependent on the decision you're making. Outside of you, outside of even your family and loved ones. It's time that you walk in purpose. Walk in purpose. Do whatever you need to do. Get yourself in the right community, the right environment. Stay in your scriptures. Stay in prayer. Do whatever you need to do. Work on your mindset, because many of you get into the scriptures, and I've quoted Matthew 7:7 many times that teaches us, ask, and it shall be given to you, seeking, you'll find, knocking, and the door will be open. Remember we talked about that? And I said, my goodness, I used to ask all the time, but why is it not happening in my life? And I had absolutely no idea. He wasn't talking about the words that's just coming out of my mouth. He's talking about what I really believe about myself. That's why you guys haven't seen me in weeks. I can't come up on here and be fake. I can't come up on here trying to sell something. No, I have to spend time in the secret place. I have to be reminded, wait a minute, God, who am I? I have to allow his fire to come through me. I have to remind him that I'm walking in partnership with him. I have to repent of any sins, anything that's hindered me. And then you come forth, and you come forth in that wisdom and in that authority, baby. That's what I want for each and every last one of you. You come forth in that power. And baby, the world can't deny you. I love you all. I pray to God you walk in purpose. All right, bye bye. Love you all.
I love you all. I pray that you enjoyed listening to the live recording. I pray that it not only encourage you, but also challenge you. You all, we have to go back to the secret place, which is where we belong in the presence of God. I love you all. Again, I pray you are encouraged. And again, if you do not have my book necessary, make sure you get your hands on a copy of it and read the chapters mentioned. You're listening to Unlocking Greatness Podcast with Zenja Glass.